Welcome to Channel the night of September 19th, 2025. Had an electricity that could be felt long before the ball was tipped. Fans began arriving hours before the game, many of them wearing the bold purple of the Phoenix Mercury or the iconic seafoam and black of the New York Liberty. The buzz outside the arena was deafening, a symphony of basketball passion echoing through the streets. It wasn't just another WNBA regular season game. This was Phoenix versus New York, a matchup drenched in history, star power, and playoff implications. Inside the arena, the lights dimmed for the introductions. Spotlights danced across the hardwood, reflecting off banners that told stories of championships and legacies. Every camera pointed toward the tunnel, waiting for the stars to emerge. From the Mercury side, veterans and rising talents alike prepared to make their mark. Diana Taurasi, the ageless wonder, laced up her sneakers with the calm confidence of someone who had seen it all, yet still burned to compete. Brittany Griner stretched near the baseline, her towering presence both intimidating and reassuring for Phoenix fans. Younger players, eager to prove themselves, fed off the energy of their leaders. On the Liberty bench, the vibe was equally intense. Breanna Stewart, always locked in, had the eyes of a hunter. Sabrina Ionescu, with her sharp focus and unmatched playmaking, paced back and forth, visualizing the opening plays. Jonquil Jones towered with quiet determination, ready to dominate the paint. The Liberty carried themselves like a team that believed destiny was in their hands. As the announcer's voice roared through the speakers, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's matchup. The Phoenix Mercury versus the New York Liberty." The crowd erupted. Chants of "Liberty! Liberty!" clashed with counter cries of "Let's go Phoenix," creating a wall of sound that shook the rafters. The referees gathered at mid-court, the basketball glistening under bright lights. Players took their positions. Griner against Jones at the tip-off circle, Stewart and Taurasi eyeing each other across the floor. Ionescu crouched low with her hands ready. The whistle blew. The ball was tossed into the air. Jones and Griner leapt like titans, battling for control. The ball tipped toward New York, and Sabrina Ionescu snatched it, immediately pushing into transition. The game had begun. The first possession set the tone. Ionescu drove hard to her right, dishing to Stewart, who knocked down a smooth mid-range jumper. The Liberty bench leapt to its feet, applauding the quick strike. On the other end, Taurasi responded with a deep three, her release pure and practiced, silencing the New York cheers for a moment. Back and forth it went. Stewart to Jones in the paint. Bucket. Griner with a turnaround hook. Answer. The game was less than 2 minutes old, and already the fans knew they were witnessing something special. Every dribble carried weight. Every shot attempt felt like it belonged to a highlight reel. The Mercury's defense tightened, forcing the Liberty into contested looks. Meanwhile, Ionescu orchestrated plays with her signature poise, threading passes through impossible gaps. The intensity was palpable. Coaches barked instructions from the sidelines. Players clapped their hands for defensive stops, and the crowd oscillated between roars of joy and groans of frustration. It wasn't just a first quarter. It was a statement of intent from both teams. By the time the first timeout was called, the scoreboard was tight, the energy was unmatched, and chapter 1 of this unforgettable showdown had been written. The ball was back in play after the first timeout, and the atmosphere only grew louder. The Liberty fans in the building waved banners high, while Mercury supporters countered with deafening chants. Every possession now felt like a heavyweight punch in a title fight. Phoenix came out of the huddle with a clear plan. Feed the post. Brittany Griner established position deep in the paint, muscling against Jonquil Jones. Taurasi lobbed it in. Griner pivoted, turned over her left shoulder, and released a soft hook that kissed the glass before dropping in. The Mercury bench clapped furiously. Griner was in rhythm early. New York, however, refused to be rattled. Sabrina Ionescu slowed the tempo, calling for a high pick and roll with Stewart. The screen was set. Taurasi fought over it, but Sabrina pulled up from beyond the arc anyway. The ball sailed. The net barely moved. Pure three-pointer. The Liberty bench exploded. Players on their feet waving towels, urging the crowd to rise even higher. Back and forth the duel raged. The Mercury's Kalia Copper slashed into the lane, drawing contact and finishing with a powerful layup, her fist pumping after the whistle. The Liberty responded as Betnijah Laney Hamilton leaked out in transition, finishing with a silky Eurostep layup that made the crowd gasp. Every player seemed locked into a personal battle. Stewart versus Taurasi on the wing. Griner versus Jones in the trenches. Ionescu testing the Mercury guards with her vision and ball handling. Copper answering with fearless drives. Midway through the quarter, the score was locked at 17-17, but it wasn't just about the numbers. The energy was relentless. Fans stood on every possession, barely pause and sit between whistles. Each defensive stop was cheered like a game winner. Each bucket felt like a dagger. Phoenix's defense tried to tighten, but Stewart found her groove. First, a step-back mid-range jumper over Brianna Turner. Swish. Then a hard drive that forced help from Griner, only for Stewart to dish to Jones, who hammered home a two-handed finish. The Liberty were clicking, and their ball movement was poetry in motion. But the Mercury answered with grit. Taurasi, pulling deep from her bag, sank another contested three, her shooting form steady as ever. Ice water in her veins, the commentator's voice echoed through the arena speakers. Copper continued to push the pace, drawing fouls and keeping Phoenix's offense alive. As the quarter wound down, the tension tightened. New York's bench players entered the fray. Maureen Johannes checked in and immediately made her mark with a dazzling behind-the-back dribble into a step-back jumper that had fans shaking their heads in disbelief. Phoenix countered with Sophie Cunningham, who drilled a corner three off a quick ball swing, pumping her fist as she backpedaled. The scoreboard ticked closer and closer. With under a minute to go, Ionescu orchestrated a flawless possession, driving left, kicking out to Laney Hamilton in the corner, who buried a clutch three to put New York up by 4. But on the final play of the quarter, Phoenix refused to let the momentum swing too far. Taurasi held for the last shot, dribbled patiently, then pulled up from the logo as the buzzer sounded. The shot hung in the air. Splash! The arena erupted. Even Liberty fans couldn't help but admire the audacity. At the end of the first quarter, the score stood tied at 28-28. But beyond the numbers, the message was clear. Neither team would give an inch. This was going to be a war of endurance, execution, and sheer willpower. The buzzer sounded, and the teams switched benches. The scoreboard reflected a deadlock, 28-28 after the first quarter. But the mood inside the arena was far from even. Fans buzzed with nervous anticipation, sensing that something explosive was about to unfold.